I'll tell you guys a little dream story first of all, and then you could talk about whatever because I don't have a lot about this. A
Go
couple
for it.
months ago, I had a dream where it was me, my girlfriend, her parents, and her sister. And we were standing on my grandparents' porch. And as we were standing there, like me and her dad are just standing there with rifles for whatever reason. And all of a sudden, a Sasquatch appears at the end of the field. So, like, we tell the women to go inside and we start shooting fucking Bigfoot. And then I woke up in a cold sweat because it was so real. And it was like I could hear the fucking flies like buzzing in the background like they did every summer when I went up grandma's house in Tobyhanna there. I could see the grass blowing in the breeze. And there was the creature, just 50 to 60 meters away, like, and he was coming toward us. So I was very happy I woke up when I did.
Why shoot him and not like net him or something to observe him and like test him? And
Oh, it was past that.
Past that. He was hangry.
He was looking for vengeance from what I could gather.
All right, Jess, analyze that shit.
He has an obsession with Bigfoot that he can't get over until he sees Bigfoot. Were you doing the real question is, were you doing the mating call?
No. We were just doing what we do, and there was Bigfoot. And we tried to stop him, but
I have a dream story that made me think of all of you guys. It's all of your faults, okay? I had a dream that I was in like the highest point in the county, and it's just this giant hill, and then like far out there's a whole bunch of trees, and I'm looking up at the sky, and all of a sudden I see this red dot growing bigger and bigger as it makes almost like an S pattern. And then all of a sudden I'm just sitting there going, huh, that's strange. And I continue watching this thing, and then all of a sudden this beam of light comes down and sucks me up in the air like this, and essentially just helps me like literally relive my life as if like I was being reincarnated and like going through my life, and it was like a quick flash through. And I started looking some things up on the internet, and now you guys are all making me feel like I just had alien encounters here. I don't, because they're saying that people who astral project and stuff like that could potentially have contact with aliens, and I blame you guys. It's all your fault. Okay.
Okay, anybody else's story? Jess, tell us a story.
Oh, you want me to tell you a story? Okay, well, let me preface this by saying that, like, because I'm a crazy person and I watch a lot of TV shows and movies and read books in my spare time, that a lot of especially my lucid dreams, when I see them, it's like I'm watching a movie. Like it'll say that like Paramount Pictures will come up and it's got like the intense music, and you know how they have like, it'll be like drone footage and like it'll go through and like over the Paramount Pictures mountain, and when it comes up over the top it'll be like the movie, and it shows you like the environment and things like that. It'll be like that. Like it'll pan over to somebody and like super cut zoom on their face every time they talk. Like that's how my dreams are. So there's a lot of stuff where I'm like, did I watch a really weird movie or did I dream that? I don't know. I've had dreams in black and white because like my dad would watch a lot of movies in black and white. That man would have the Three Stooges like on at all hours of the day and night. So, or like I Love Lucy. So I've even had dreams that have had like laugh tracks and stuff in the background, but it's stuff that isn't funny. Like it's the ones that have laugh tracks are the ones that are more spooky, because like the dialogue isn't something that you would hear somebody say all the time. And the environment is like a liminal space. It'll be like an abandoned Kmart. and somebody will just be like, do you want to get a cheeseburger later? And then the laugh track will go, and it's not even funny. Nothing's happening. It's just spooky. But let me see, what do I have written down in me notes? Oh yeah, here's a fun one. A lot of people have this thought in their head that if you die, it's like you die in the dream, you die in real life. That's not true, because if that was the case, then you guys are talking to a ghost, because I've died multiple times. And this one is really weird in that every time, and this has happened multiple times, this one, a recurring dream, where like, it's like I fall asleep, and when I wake up, my head is all like lolled to the side as if I've been like knocked out via some type of injectable thing. And I'll be in a cylindrical room that is like steel all around. And there's a tiny little window, like way up, and I can see people in it, but I can't see who it is. And I come to the realization that I'm like strapped into this contraption. My arms are out like this. My legs are in the similar position, kind of like the little Da Vinci man. And I'm like yelling to whoever is in the window, like, what is going on? What's happening? And then this is where the movie part takes over, and it'll zoom out from my perspective, and I can see myself from behind, and it'll zoom all around me. And then it switches to like security cameras around, so I can see myself from the security camera view. And then the last shot is whoever's in the window, they're looking down at me, and it's kind of like I'm standing behind them. And I can see they have all these like buttons, like it's a command room or something. And it's one of those things where like you think in your head, try to remember as much as you can. They always tell you, like, if you're going to be a victim of a crime, like, remember, look at all the things and try to remember all this stuff. And I can't really see what the people look like, but they're wearing lab coats and they have glasses and they're taking notes and they're pressing buttons. And then it switches back to me, like as if the camera's only 5 feet away. And then the like steel walls start to open on either side, and you hear like this whirring noise, and there's like wind vaguely from the machinery moving, and it shows each side, and you see something coming out like this. And then I'm thinking to myself, like, how can I get out of here? What can I do? Like, I don't know what to do. And then I look down and I see like the floor is rusty. And then I realize it's not rust, it's blood. Like, and it's insane, like so much dried blood, it would have to be hundreds of people. That's how much blood. And then I'm like, all right, well, I guess this is happening. This is fine. And then it keeps switching to like security camera footage from all angles. And like the dramatic music starts to rise that would make the audience panic set in, and that I'm watching this thing and I can't stop it. Like one of those movie moments when you're watching it, you're holding your breath, hoping something comes in at the last second to stop it. Somebody please help this person. And then as I look to the sides and I realize what's coming out of the walls, I realize it's two ginormous blades, huge blades. And I'm like, I'm going to get cut in half. This is happening. I'm getting cut in half at the waist. It starts showing all the bits that I'm like hooked up to, and it'll like flash back into the control room again, where it'll like pan over and show the wall behind them is actually like giant screens of all this information, like my brain waves and like my heartbeat and my blood pressure, all this weird shit. And it's showing like almost like a live MRI, because you can see that I'm like squirming to get out. And where I'm strapped in at the waist, there's like just enough room for the blades to come in and slice me in half like a giant cucumber filled with blood. And they press the button and it stops. And I'm screaming at them to let me go. And then there's like this really loud bang, and I can't hear anything except that fun little fancy like movie pinging noise when like a grenade goes off. So you can, and it zooms back out again, and you can see me screaming, but all you're hearing is this noise. And at some point I must accept defeat, because I just kind of hang out there as the blades keep coming, and they keep coming, and they keep, and it's like I can see them. They go Mortal Kombat style into my body to show me being cut in half. And then it zooms out, and the ringing has stopped, and you hear the mechanical whirring again. And you kind of see like me slide in half as there's two halves being held together by this contraption, but they're not connected. And, you know, the fun, happy entrails slide out as they do, because they're nice and long. That's a very large intestine, if I do say so myself. And then you just hear like beeping and more whirring, and it goes back up into the control room again, and the people in there are taking their notes, and they're shutting everything down, and it goes past their heads into the window, and the window is the shot, is the frame, and it's just showing me dead, and all the lights turning off in the cylinder. And then there's just one spotlight on me dead. And Dream Me is just like, this is crazy. I'm having a really weird out-of-body experience, to where that's my cut in half dead body, as if I'm standing in the control room. And then as it zooms back out from my dead body, nobody else is in there but me. And it shows that I'm the one that pressed the button. And then I always wake up in a frenzied sweat of, what the bitch, are you okay? Like, why are you dreaming about cutting yourself in half?
The death to the old you.
I mean, if you wanted to do it like that.
Or too much
had
saw.
something that I don't even know what I'd call it. Was it out of body? Was it sleep paralysis? Was it a paranormal encounter that was legitimate, or all three of the above? I don't know, but I just remember one time in my parents' old townhouse on a break from college, I was sleeping over, and I think it was when I was working on capstone, honestly. Like really stressful times, I tend to have sleep paralysis. So I'm falling asleep, and I'm starting to get like, I get pins and needles right before I know it's going to happen, but I can't stop it because I'm like, oh, I'm too like loopy. I can't stop falling asleep, but I like know it's about to happen. I'm like, so I fall asleep, or so you can say. I don't know, because I feel like I fell asleep and it happened like immediately right after. But I'd say maybe 10 seconds after I slipped into this sleep dream-like state, I look across the room, like my eyes move. Obviously, I can't move. My eyes move to the corner of the room. It's really dark, and I see something. I'm like, okay, am I making something up, or is this real? And it looks like a really just vague outline of not a person, but more like a creature. It almost looked like the shadow was fuzzy. So I was like, okay, and it's just chilling there. My heart is starting to race. This thing, I feel like it's staring at me, even though it doesn't have eyes. So I'm like, I can't move. Start having like the sleep paralysis panic of not being able to move. And then it starts coming closer, and it's stepping like, I guess you could say, how many feet would it be from my bed? I don't know, but it was moving in super slow motion, but it was definitely coming toward me. And then all of a sudden, it was like I was torn out of my body, yet I could still feel what my body was feeling. And I'm standing next to it, and I'm looking at myself going, can you move? This thing is like coming at us. I'm like talking to myself as if we're two people. And I look at it, and all of a sudden it has a face now, but it's like, I don't even know how I describe it. Like the eyes were there, but they weren't. Like it was just a hole, and then it was pure white light through it. And so it's coming closer to me, and I just keep saying to myself, wake up, and I'm shaking myself, and all of a sudden I'm back in my body. And it feels like when I get sleep paralysis and I wake up, it almost feels like I'm falling through a bunch of like wooden floors. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what that was like. But when I went to look at the corner of the room again, and I knew at this point I had snapped out of the sleep paralysis portion, the thing was still there. I pulled the blanket over my head going, okay, maybe there's really a ghost in here. Like I didn't actually have sleep paralysis, but when I pulled it down again, it was gone. So like, I don't even know what that was. Has that happened to anybody?
Yeah, I mean, if you're talking about like what's out there, it sounds like an out of body experience where you're floating above your body watching it.
Yeah, no, because I could move outside of my body, yet I could feel like I was still in my body and I was having sleep paralysis, couldn't move, but I could look around. And then I was also like trying to like do one of these, like get back to the thing that was coming at me. So it was really weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
I had like a weird similar one, but I never saw anything. Like, how about this? I was like in my 20s, and it's the last time I ever slept on my stomach. For the rest of my life, I've never done it again. Like, I'm that scared of it. You ever have like an old air conditioner and it almost sounds like a car downshifting, like good chunk when it starts up, right? So it's like the sun's coming up. I didn't just fall asleep. I just was kind of waking up. And all of a sudden I heard the air conditioner like downshift and it's trying to chug and come on. And all of a sudden I hear like almost soldiers marching up the steps to the upstairs of the house. So they're coming up the steps and it turns like the chugga turns into boots, right? And they're coming. And all of a sudden, like, have any of you ever seen that? Oh God, it's the
Inception?
No, it's that movie with it's a James Bond movie where the Smedley comes out of the ground. He's a black guy, but he has like a skeleton face on, and he's Lord Smedley. He's the king of the dead in Buddhism. Live and Let Die. Yeah, it's in the movie Live and Let Die. Well, he has this really, really beautiful, deep voice, but he's scary as shit. Right. So all of a sudden, like someone took a megaphone and stuck it to the back of my head. He starts going, and he's laughing at me because I can't move. And I could hear them coming up the steps and they're coming down the hall and he's going, like, you can't move. And literally, I prayed to St. Mary. It was the only way I could wake up. It was like the worst day of my life. Never, ever did I sleep on my stomach again. But I'm telling you, I literally heard people coming. I heard him behind me. It was literally like there was a man behind me with a megaphone laughing inside my head.
That's how most of my sleep paralysis, like legitimate, I know it's like, at least I think it's not actually paranormal and it's just, sleep paralysis. People tend to see things, but they're not always equated to being actually paranormal. Like they think it's fictional. Where they talk to you, they laugh, they make weird noises, you can hear them like coming, like footsteps. It's almost like one time I also had where my door was definitely closed. I always sleep with my door closed and I used to lock it. So I knew the door was closed when I fell asleep, but while I had sleep paralysis, I saw this thing that was coming into my room, really tall, black and slender. But it opened the door and I saw the door physically open, this thing come in. And then when I woke up from the sleep paralysis, my door was still closed and locked. So I don't know. I've never seen it though.
That thing that you saw though in your room too, that could have been, I mean, this is the way I look at things, is sometimes your subconscious is like, hey bitch, there's a thing in the corner and you need to pay attention. And your body's like, no, I want to sleep. I'm good. There's nothing there. But it's there though. And you need to pay attention to it. And your subconscious and your conscious are kind of fighting each other because we're taught that those things aren't real until you see one. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to make you think, oh my God, there's a ghost in your bedroom, but you never know. Like maybe
I don't know, that one time it was really strange because when I wake up from sleep paralysis, like I'm no longer sleepy. I am fully awake. I'm having a panic attack. My heart is racing. I sit up in my bed. I'm like sweating, pouring sweat. And I was doing that when I looked over and it was still there. And I was like, okay, time to actually go to bed because I'm scared now. And that had never happened before after sleep paralysis. So I expected the thing to not be there anymore.
Yeah.
Has anybody
We'll never know.
Has anybody ever experienced like pain in their dreams? Like
Yeah.
I have a distinctive dream that and I was maybe like in middle school or high school when this happened. So it was a long time ago. And I remember I was in this dark alley and I was trying, of course, it's the whole, you try to run and in your dream, you're slower than molasses. You can never get out of the way. And this guy literally takes this blade, jams it into the middle of my back and just rakes down my spine. And I guess in my sleep, I literally arched my back as much as I could because I felt excruciating pain. And I feel like the only way that you could have like that kind of pain in your dream is if you've actually experienced that pain in real life. Because I feel like that's the only way that your brain could mimic that action again. And I have kidney issues, so back pain is not uncommon for me. And that was just like one of the most horrendous things, is like feeling pain in dreams. And I'm going to go somewhere else with that too. But has anybody else had that?
I had a dream that my brother took a large knife and put it right through me. Like I felt it go right through my stomach and out through my back. And I woke up screaming and I could still feel it, even though I could touch my body and I knew it wasn't there. And my sister slept in the room with me and she's just like, what? And I just kept screaming at her, Nick stabbed me. He stabbed me. And she's like, there's nothing wrong. And I'm like, I'm telling you my dream. He just murdered me. Like it was bad. And I mean, I'm telling you, it took me days to get over it. Because when I woke up, I thought it was real. It hurt so bad.
But I don't remember feeling pain. I remember feeling fear to the point that when I was little, I taught myself how to lucid dream without knowing that that's what I was doing. Like fear to the point that you feel like if you get any more scared and your heart pounds any harder, that you're going to actually have a heart attack and the fear is going to kill you. So you have to wake yourself up out of the dream. I've, for whatever reason, I've been able to do that since I was little, and it started with like 3 or 4 different reoccurring nightmares that I used to have when I was little that I have no idea why I had them, because they didn't make sense to anything going on in my life, like psychologically or literally. So that's the weirdest stuff that I've had, was being able to lucid dream and like kind of be conscious in your dream, and it feels like you're coming up through depths of water. Like it feels like you're on the bottom of an ocean or a big deep lake, and you're forcing yourself up through the layers until you get to the air. And then there's the weird part, like right before you're above the water, where you start talking and yelling, help, help, wake me up, wake up, help, help, whatever. And you find out later that you were actually doing it, but it sounds more like, you know, you're not really saying anything in your head, and in the dreaming, you're like screaming words at the top of your lungs, crystal clear. But in real life, it was like somebody gagged you and you're, yelling through that. That's happened a lot, since I was little. I mean, till now, but I've never I don't remember right now ever feeling physical pain.
Random question for Jess, because she might know. And then I also have just a brief of how I've experienced pain in dreams. But what does it mean when you laugh hysterically in your dream and then you wake up laughing hysterically? Because it terrifies me. I've done that a number of times in my life, and it scares everybody who's ever seen it. And I think Amanda may have witnessed it once.
Let me consult the text.
Okay. In the meantime, the only painful dreams I've really had is either being murdered, because, I went to school for forensics. We talked about murderers all the time, and I watched too much crime television. So that was given that I was going to have dreams like that. But then also my most fearful way I have of dying, I am so afraid of being tortured to death. Like if I'm going to die, I want to die really fast. I don't want to be tortured by anybody. So yeah, I felt like people cutting off my limbs one by one, my fingers, toes, legs, and it felt real and it was terrifying. But that's it.
I was gonna say, because I was going, like, the reason why I asked anybody, because I, throughout my childhood and even into my adulthood, have been plagued with dreams that consist of pain or extreme anxiety. My main dreams that, like, dream creature that I dream about are 2 things. I'd always dream about zombies. Now, they make it look so easy in the movies and the shows, like, hey, you take this saw and you slash them and it just goes straight through their head and they're dead. My dreams are a little bit different. Of course, the whole purpose of a nightmare is to make you feel little, to make you feel vulnerable. And so I'm like the weakest of weak things in the planet in my dreams. And like I'd go to like smack him on the head with something and it would just like barely flinch and then he would like come after me. Well, when I was younger, I used to get attacked by these zombies and I could literally feel the pain of them chomping on my body and stuff. So I literally came up with this thought process of anytime I have one of these nightmares. Now, this is going to sound crazy, but maybe one of you guys will try doing this because of the fact that we're probably all going to have nightmares tonight. I would always, God, this sounds so crazy. In dreams like that, where I know I'm going to die a painful death or I don't like what's going on, I'd literally kill myself in the dream to wake myself up. What I would normally do, what I would normally do is I would climb up on the tallest thing. Usually it's a building, like somehow you like think about it and woof, you're at the top of the building. And falling from high heights has been like the number one way that I wake myself up, because as you're falling, that feeling of just weightlessness before you hit the ground and splat, your body wakes up. And so that's always how I wake myself up from a nightmare, and it seems to be pretty successful. But I wonder if I can also do that too, because I can realize this is a nightmare. I'm very, very aware of everything in my dreams, to where like a lot of times I can be like, this isn't right.
Thanks for giving me a flashback to the, it only happened once, thank God, because I could not deal with this dream again if it happened. Like, I think I'd just start bashing my head off something in my sleep so I'd wake up. But I had one dream that was really terrifying, and it was a recurring dream. And finally, I came up with the idea in my dream, if I kill myself, it'll be fine and I'll be able to wake up. So that was the first time I tried it, and it didn't work that time. It did the next time. But I kept killing myself over and over and over. And no matter what I did, it wasn't working. And it was just torture. It was me finding different ways. It's like, okay, set myself on fire. Okay, cut my head off. Like, it was every single way you could think of to try to wake up.
Well, and like you literally have to think, like, because that would happen the first couple of times that I tried it. Because I remember it was a zombie apocalypse dream, and I went splat on the ground, and I was still alive somehow, and I'm laying there, and they're coming to get my body, and I just had to keep thinking to myself, I'm dead. There's no way that I'd be able to survive falling from this height. And then my brain would just click. But I have a lot of like very horrific, vivid, disgusting nightmares, and I don't know what the hell is wrong with me, but I think I need to see somebody for them because they're bad. Oh yeah.
But you're both lucid dreaming. You're totally lucid dreaming. I'm fascinated with the offing yourself part. I'm fascinated with that. Like,
yeah, it's not as fascinating when you're doing it.
I never would have thought of that because I always was able to swim up, but sometimes it takes a while to get through that feeling of swimming up and like yet screaming at myself to wake up, idiot, wake up, idiot. But like, I'd be scared that I'd actually die, meaning like scare yourself so bad in that moment of death in your dream that you would actually like by the farm with a heart attack or something.
Essentially what I would keep in mind, and this is so horrible, but like I would just think, okay, if I die, I will be at peace. There will be no more zombies. There will be no more crazy things coming after me, no more pain. I will be fine.
Like when you're in that place and you're that scared that you're just like, how can I off myself today to get out of this? Are you aware enough that you are actually in the dreaming? Like, are you aware, like, are you saying to yourself, I'm going to be at peace because I'm going to wake up? Or are you saying to yourself, I'm going to be at peace because you're going to be dead? And, you know,
it's usually when I come to that point that I'm able to tell that I am dreaming, and it's just a matter of waking myself up. Because it's like kind of like how Jess's dreams go. It's almost like a movie. Like you don't have control of a lot of the parts of your dream, and it's like you're just watching it as a movie. And then like a lot of times I will like snap into place midway through that dream and go, whoa, like I finally have control of myself. And that's normally like when those points would come where I'm like, because with the zombie dreams, you go into like battle formation, you're like trying to do all this, blah blah blah, and then you finally get that horrific realization of I'm going to die. I'm not going to survive this. And that's when like I start to lucid dream, and that's when I finally kind of like wake up in the dream and go, oh, okay. It's like a whole bunch of Inception crap going on there.
Okay.
I've always had enough sense of reality in mind. Like the times that I would want to kill myself in my dreams, it'd be so insane and far-fetched for it to actually be happening in reality that I could come to terms and be like, okay, this is legitimately a dream, so it's okay if we kill ourselves. We are just going to wake up. But of course, I would get scared in the dream right before I'd go to do it that it wasn't actually a dream and it would be real. But it was like a split second.
But you knew you were dreaming, essentially.
For the most part, yeah.
Okay.
I think that's what helps about my dreams is my dreams are so far-fetched, zombies, vampires, whatever, to the sense of like you can realize that, hey, this is a dream. Or the other thing too is you gotta be able to, if you're able to, identify the things that are out of place. And realize this doesn't make sense. I'm in a dream. So that's like a lot of it. And, this is going to sound so corny, but of course I was watching this movie yesterday because I just had to have something in the background while I was editing. I was watching Divergent. And in the one point when she's trying to become dauntless, they do a fear simulator where they inject them with a serum that literally makes them face their worst fears. And with her being divergent, she's able to think past that and realize, in a sense, lucid dream during these simulations that this isn't real. And she's able to go submerge herself into a puddle to get away from birds, and then she's about ready to drown, and she's like, this isn't real, as she's looking at her reflection, and she taps on the glass and it just shatters and it lets her out. So that's like ultimately you need to like be able to figure out like where's the line between reality and not, and normally that's at that point that you can push through and wake yourself up or completely change the dream and put it on a different track.
Okay, so before we get into that, I have an answer about your question. It can mean a multitude of things, depending on like what's going on in your dream and going on with you physically. If it's like severe where it's happening multiple times a night, every night, then it's considered a sleep disorder, and that's like a problem. I know some people who would have night terrors, they would sleepwalk, and their reaction to things while they're awake is similar to their reaction to things while they're asleep. And this was a person where like if something bad is happening, their automatic reaction is to like laugh. So sometimes it's one of those things where you laugh at inappropriate times. Everyone's like, dude, what the hell's wrong with you? You're an asshole. Well, it's not funny. And it's like, it's not, but that's what I'm doing. But he would do that as well. He would just like laugh, and if you'd ask him about it later, it'd be like, what was happening in your dream? It's like, oh, I accidentally ran over the dog. I just started laughing, and it's like, okay, Jesus. So it could be those things. A lot of times from what I've read very briefly is that it could be a good omen. Something good is going to happen to you. Like I said, it depends on the dream. Other stuff.
I can never remember my dreams when it happens, but I have had a sense that like my laughter was inappropriate for the dream.
Right. It could
like definitely like somebody died or something, and I'm laughing hysterically.
Yeah, because it's also like one of those situations where there's two different kinds of laughing inappropriately, like hysterical laughter, laughing inappropriately, where like some people just start laughing and then it turns into like sobbing. And then there's just laughing because you don't know what to say or what to do. And instead of crying, your body's like, we're going to laugh, happy times, happy feelings, serotonin, let's do it. So that's what happens. And then you probably wake yourself up laughing like, well, am I okay? And that's probably why people that see that, not knowing what's happening, think that people are crazy, because I have definitely woken myself up laughing.
It was terrifying. It
It
was truly terrifying. I shot up and looked at Alex and I'm like, what? And then Alex snapped out of it and I'm like, what the heck are you dreaming about? And
Didn't you
Alex
say
like,
I sat up once when I was doing it?
You sat straight up and like laughed like this belly laugh that it takes a lot to get Alex to do that. Like this, like, I don't know. And it was terrifying. Like, I'm like,
hey, wait, I want to make Bill tell you guys about his weirdo dream because it's creeping me out. Bill, say hi.
Hello. So I had this recurring dream for years when I was a child. It started when I was about 4. I would be sleeping in my bed and I would just wake up, something was talking to me. And there was this, and I didn't, this did not exist in my house. But I had this dream where I woke up and we had 8-foot ceilings in my room. So about 6 feet up in the corner of the room, there'd be this gold pillow with a clown face in the middle of it, screaming at me. Like for years. It would happen for like 2 or 3 weeks in a row. Then it would go away for like 3 to 6 months, and then it would start up again. And it was just like the creepiest.
Was it animated?
It would speak. It was like you could see the face move, and it would be screaming at me for some unknown reason. And I'd wake up screaming from these dreams. Like to the point where my parents would come rushing in and like, what's the matter? What's the matter? And, you know, my father didn't have a lot of patience because he used to have to get up early. It got to the point where they wanted to send me to the school shrink, and I just refused to go, and they just kind of went away after that.
So you want to hear about my notes? Besides Dreams being a great song by Fleetwood Mac, Freud had a lot to it's just Alex's Freud had a lot to say for different types of dream interpretations. Unfortunately, that kind of turned into the Oedipus complex later on. Basically, his whole thought process there was that dreams are unfulfilled wishes of the waking person. Yeah, this man had way too much to say about dreams, and there's 2 different types of content within a dream. This kind of makes sense. So you have your manifest content, which is the remembered narrative. So what you wake up and what you tell people about your dream, like we just did, fun little experimente. And then there's the latent content, which is the underlying meaning of the dream, which is what Freud would have interpreted. And he's got the sources for dreams. Could be a mentally significant experience, which is directly represented. For example, when my dad died, like 6 months later, I met him in a diner in the desert in my dreams. Miss my dad. That one's pretty simple. And then there's several recent and significant experiences combined into one. So you get the nice old double whammy of everything in my life is shitty and everything is bothering me. So I'm going to have a really nice dream about it and wake up in a cold sweat in 3 hours. Or it could be one or more recent and significant experiences, which are represented in the content by the mention of a contemporary but indifferent experience. Someone could be like, you should probably get rid of that dog collar that you've had on the mantle ever since I've known you. And then later that night, you have dreams about the dog that used to wear that collar. So it was just a brief mention, and your brain just decides, I want to nano focus on that, and then wake up sad. So like his 3 main types of dreams are like direct prophecies, if you're into that shit. You know, laser beam coming down and telling you like this is exactly what's going to happen in your life. It could be a foretelling of a future event, or it's just a wholly symbolic dream. And if that's the case, you most certainly do not want to be sitting with Freud in a room describing your dream, because it's probably going to be something you don't want to hear. Now, his little friend, Yoon, however you want to pronounce his name, that's up to you, because apparently nobody can decide on how it's actually pronounced. Poor guy's dead, so we can't ask him. His thought process on that is that it's kind of a dialogue between the ego and the self when you dream. Your brain is just processing 1,000,001 things a mile a minute, and it's got to have some place to squirt it out at the end of the day. And dreams is where that shit manifests. Now, his deal with dreams is that he kind of based a little bit off of his main man, Freud. But he liked to inject his archetypes into it, and that they manifest in dreams and could represent all types of different unconscious attitudes that don't necessarily express during the day in a healthy manner. But he did put an emphasis that symbols within the dreams must be explored for their personal significance to the patient. You can't just do one of these A to Z of dreams and apply it to anybody, because that shit ain't gonna work for everybody. This apparently dream interpretation, as we all know, has been around since people been dreaming. Couple of things here and there that come out throughout the history, especially in earlier dream interpretation was more considered to be supernatural communications, divine intervention, used for divination, to confirm waking beliefs. You think Judy at work sucks, she probably hates you, not a big fan. Then you have a dream, Judy stomps your cat out in the middle of the street. You wake up and you're like, I knew Judy was a bad egg, and it was all confirmed. It could also be, as Freud so pointed out, prophetic or omens. You saw a crow today and your dream is telling you your kid's going to die tomorrow, and you wake up, it's 1876 and he died of the flu. You knew it was right. Dreaming could also be similar to astral projection in that it is seen as a way to move between worlds. There are some cultures that believe in that as well. When you're dreaming, you're actually visiting alternate dimensions, alternate worlds, seeing between the lines, seeing things that not everybody sees. I do like the medieval Islamic psych portion, the 3 parts of dreams, that you have false dreams, pathogenic dreams, or 2 dreams. Because of course, we all dream about things that are never going to happen, aka me being married to Matthew Gray Gubler. As great as that would be, that's never going to happen. So that would be a false dream. Thanks, brain. So we talked about sleep paralysis briefly. It's a temporary inability to move and or speak while falling asleep and or waking up, as we have mentioned a couple of times. You may or may not hallucinate. And it can happen for a multitude of reasons: sleep deprivation, different types of stress, or an abnormal sleep cycle. There are a couple other things like sleep apnea that can do it to you as well, where you stop breathing for a second, so you're like, ugh, and you really can't breathe. And you can have all types of sensations. You can hear buzzing, hissing, ringing, voices, whispers, like Ange had mentioned about her air conditioner talking to her. Something that's been spoken a lot about is you feel pressure on your chest. A lot of people who feel sleep paralysis say they feel this. I have cats, so I can't really do that. My cats try to kill me in my sleep every night, so that's not really helpful to me. You can also feel numbness, flying sensations, tingling, or vibrations. You can also see supernatural creatures, shadows, demons. Every once in a while you see an actual person. That doesn't sound like it's common, though. Most of the time it's shadow people, fuzzy or not. So something that kind of happens, and I've experienced this during the couple of times that I have had sleep paralysis, is that one of the theories is that you're having like hypervigilance, and it's crossing over into when you're sleeping. Now, interestingly enough, there's apparently been a lot of folklore about sleep paralysis, demons and creatures in particular, that occur around the world that are attributed to this phenomenon. All different type, mostly hags, I've noticed. They like to use hags, night hags, sleep hags, succubi, incubi that are coming in to steal your breath, sit on your chest, and make sure you see spooky things. Oh, we do have a little section about lucid dreaming, where you're becoming aware that you are dreaming and can control it. But it's not full control. It's never full control. It's just a minute amount of control, similar to real life. We're all specks on this planet, and we can only do so much. And a lot of times, for whatever reason, when I was reading about lucid dreaming, a lot of reports were kind of like, what's that movie with Leonardo DiCaprio? Or Inception. Your dream becomes Inception every time you try to lucid dream. Physical laws do not apply, like not being able to punch somebody when you want to punch them, not being able to run as fast as you think you can run. I have the same sentiments, Amanda. It is absolutely disgusting and terrible and absolutely diabolical that you just can't do jack shit for 20 minutes until you wake up. And that is all I currently have to say. And